What's up, ladies and gents? This is KSigKid coming at you with another Destiny video. Today, we're going to talk about Destiny 2, or we're going to talk about one aspect that might be in Destiny 2 and how it might relate to all of our gameplay experiences. And I think it's actually pretty important. It's actually something that I've wanted to talk about for quite some time, since pretty much the Rise of Iron has come out, and that is story in Destiny. And I know that doesn't sound like it might be that much of a controversial topic, but I actually believe it is. I believe there is a little bit of controversy around it. So I definitely want to talk about it. I want to give my thoughts on this, and I want to hear what your opinions are about what we talk about with regards to story and narrative in Destiny. So first things first, I want to explain a little bit of my background so you know where I'm actually coming from. I'm a person that typically has loved story in video games ever since I started playing them. I loved Final Fantasy games, JRPG type games. Those are all about the story. The Metal Gear games, all about the story. I have typically loved games that were all about the story. In fact, that's one of the reasons why I really didn't play a lot of first-person shooters throughout most of my formative gaming. Now, I played first-person shooters as far as Wolfenstein and Doom back whenever they first came out, back on shareware, but nowhere near all the times that people were really getting into things like COD and Battlefield and all that stuff. I of course played GoldenEye with all my friends, but that wasn't the number one game that I was playing whenever I was by myself. That might have been, at that time, Final Fantasy VII, I suppose. So story in video games has definitely been something that I've loved. I love a great story. I love having that twist at the end and something that just draws me in, and I'm like, wow, yeah, these characters are amazing. This story's amazing. This narrative's amazing. This is really gripping me and making me play. But at the same time, we do not have story in Destiny. We simply don't. Now, of course, we've got My Name is Bife, and he goes into all the lore in Destiny. And the lore in Destiny, the background in Destiny, is insane. The crazy storylines that we have going on in the background of Destiny is insane. But I personally always take the look of what Kevin Levine says. Kevin Levine of Bioshock, and he says, if it's not in the game, it doesn't exist. And that's the path that I take for the story. So while the Grimoire cards are absolutely amazing, they do not impact my Destiny experience at all, because if it's not in the game, then it's not worth me going out there and searching and looking for. I just don't carry that as a part of my Destiny experience because it's just not implemented in the game. If it's not in the game, it doesn't exist. That's good advice. I believe Grimoire cards should be in the game somewhere. I do not believe people should have to go to a website to go ahead and read about the story. Even if they were in the game, chances are I wouldn't take the time to go off and read all about it. I'm more playing Destiny for the gameplay. I'm playing Destiny for the experiences in the gunplay and with the people that I'm playing with. That's my personal take on how I deal with Destiny's story. So that's a little bit of my own personal gaming history, but why is that important? Well, recently we've been seeing some articles related to Destiny 2, and it's talking about how Bungie wants to go ahead in Destiny 2 and focus on storytelling and narrative a little bit more. And is this true? Well, if you go to Bungie's website and take a look at their careers, you can see that they actually have 3 open job postings relating to narrative and storytelling. So if you might be a writer, if you might have some experience in this type of stuff, go ahead and put in your resume. And if you do, say that KSigKid sent you. It's not going to help you get the job at all. In fact, they won't even know who you are, but it would be pretty cool anyway. So if Bungie's implementing these jobs to go ahead and work on Destiny 2 and they're relating to storytelling, that makes me think that we're going to be seeing some more story in Destiny 2. Is this going to be a good thing or not? Obviously, the slam dunk answer that everybody's thinking is yes. For crying out loud, yes, of course, we have no story in Destiny 1. We want to see that in Destiny 2. But hold your horses a little bit. Let me see a little bit of a counter argument. So I mentioned that I wanted to talk about this subject actually since Rise of Iron. And that's because whenever Rise of Iron came out, the very first story mission or first 2 story missions I got into, I was like, yes, holy cow, I absolutely want to learn more about Siva. This sounds amazing. This story looks pretty cool. Shaxx is pretty awesome. I'm loving this. I want to see where this goes. And then I blinked and it was all over, and I was definitely disappointed. I was disappointed because I feel like we just abruptly ended everything, and I did not feel good by the time that was done. I was like, okay, well, It started so cool, it started with so much promise, and then it just ended. It just quite frankly ended. So while that was my initial reaction, I then realized that I had to get my Hunter and my Titan ready to do endgame activities, because that's where the bulk of Destiny lies. So in fact, whenever we were doing the raids, I couldn't even go into the Iron Temple on my Titan, even though I was completing the raids on him, because I didn't finish up the story missions, the 5 story missions on my Titan. I simply couldn't even go into the Iron Temple because I didn't have those story missions completed. I just would rather have been in the raids and doing the raid stuff, getting myself ready for Iron Banners or Trials of Osiris if I might be wanting to do that. I couldn't go into the Iron Temple though, and the reason why was because I didn't finish those story missions. There were only 5 missions, but it seemed like a grind. It seemed like more of a grind than I actually wanted to do. And that's where the trade-off lies. Because even though there's an awesome story, even if you could have an awesome story, an awesome and amazing and in-depth story, it's only really going to be awesome, amazing, and in-depth once. After that, it's replaying the same thing over and over again. And anybody that plays Destiny a lot has 3 characters. Anybody that plays Destiny a lot has 3 characters, and that means that if you want to play on multiple characters, you're going to have to go through that story 3 times. And that is not very fun. I'll tell you that. That's not very fun. I don't know how many of you played Borderlands, but I became a fan of Borderlands 2. And one of the problems with Borderlands 2 was you start Borderlands 2 on one character, you play through it on your normal difficulty. Then once you finish up there, you go ahead and move your character onto True Vault Hunter mode, you get a little bit of a level increase, you go through the story again, then you move on to Ultimate Vault Hunter mode, again another level increase, but again you've got to go through the entire story again. So even though I had no personal problem with Borderlands 2 story, I found it fun, I found it funny, I found the characters fun and funny, but after you play it 9, 10, 11 times, it definitely gets a little bit old. It gets boring, you're trying to skip through stuff, you're trying to get to the end game raid bosses, or you're trying to go ahead and find the weapons that you want to farm over and over again. The last thing you want to do is hear Handsome Jack's same narrative over and over and over again. And I'm thinking that might happen in Destiny if we've got this crazy in-depth story that is hours long to go ahead and complete. But they're also talking about, well, maybe not doing that. What if it's more segmented story releases? Like we've got the Dawning, what happens if we get a package of story missions to go along with the Dawning? But here's my thing, do you really want Bungie to be focusing on that? Because if they're focusing on making more story missions, they're not focusing on some type of new raid or new awesome endgame content. And for me, I'm playing Destiny for endgame content. We know whenever we go through the story missions that we're not getting gear that's going to reward us or that we're even going to use within the next hour or so in Destiny. Now, if they wanted to make these story missions and they wanted to reward us as players by giving us some gear or loot that's actually endgame relevant, then I am definitely all ears, because the more avenues there are to getting awesome endgame quality gears, I am all ears for. Because here's the thing, even though you get to play an awesome and amazing story with a crazy twist, it's only going to be awesome and amazing with a crazy twist once. After that, you know what's coming, so on your subsequent playthroughs, it's not going to be as cool or new or innovative, so the only thing you've got left is looking for that loot. It's going to feel like a grind to you if you don't have that loot to go for. So I am definitely curious, I am absolutely 100% serious when I say I want to hear what your thoughts and opinions are. In Destiny 2, do you want there to be a significant focus on story, knowing that the things that we're talking about here are legitimate things that will pop up, unless for some reason you're able to completely skip the story on the subsequent characters that you have if you've already completed it on one. You're going to have to go through this stuff multiple times. Would you want to do that for one good romp through the story? I'm really curious about it, because I'm curious what reasons you're playing Destiny for. For me, by now, I'm not playing Destiny for the story. I'm simply not. It's because I'm just used to it. But some of you probably are out there and you're holding on and you're grasping and you're like, the lore is so awesome, I want this story in the game. And if that's your number one reason, I want to hear about it, because everybody plays games for different reasons and nobody's wrong for the way that they want to go ahead and enjoy their game. So I'm really curious about it. Please talk about this in the comment section below. Like I said, it's an undercover controversy. Anyway, guys and gals, Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, smack that like button and subscribe to the channel. Check out these awesome videos. Good luck with your raids, your drops, your Destiny 2, and I'll see you around in Destiny. #Storytime.